Hi guys, I'm Brittany.
I'm Maria.
Welcome to the Be More podcast. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yes. We took another week off for scheduling reasons.
For scheduling reasons, it happens. Holidays come, things happen, life goes
Yes,
on.
exactly. What is the exact question? What are you feeling, right? I keep thinking it's how.
Yes, what are you feeling?
What are you feeling today?
My freaking allergies. I am now on, so I had to switch to a nasal spray because I needed like support from not even like the sneezing or the runny all the stuff that goes on in like our larynx and our pharynx at the back of our throat when we get all that itchiness. Needed support for that. And then I just went to the eye doctor, and the eye doctor was like, "Wow, your eyes look really unhappy." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm dealing with allergies." And he was like, "There's this eye drops, and now I'm on I can't think
Nasal spray?
nose spray, eye drops, and my allergy medication."
Oh, that sucks.
And it's a lot. And I actually don't think I took my allergy medicine this morning, which is why I'm dealing with like the what I'm dealing with. But I'm feeling my allergies. Aside from that, I think today is going to be a good day. And I think it's because I let yesterday just be the day that I needed it to be, which was like a don't try to make yourself do any transactions to tell yourself that you deserve to just sit and do nothing for a good portion of the day. And I did that, and now I feel great.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
What are you feeling?
Um, I'm tired. I was just telling Brittany I took a walk this morning, so I already hit my like daily step goal.
Good for you.
So that was good. So, tired from the weekend. I went to a basketball game last night. Another Brooklyn Nets game. They lost. So
Awesome.
that was annoying. Um, Also I hate when it's like you go to like a sporting event or whatever, and the guy or whoever next to you is like rooting for the other team, and the other team wins.
Ah, so awkward.
I'm like, damn, like that's annoying. So I was in Brooklyn last night, so I'm tired today. But again, the weather's nice, so I feel like it's gonna be a good day.
What do you feel like sporting events? How would sporting events be different if people just showed up in their regular clothes?
What do you mean? like,
Like, you know, how
as
everyone
opposed to like dressing up with like the uniform, like the players'
right,
uniforms and stuff? Yeah.
right. And it's because it's, I don't know how I jumped to this analogy, but or this other reference, but obviously the team needs to wear their different colors or no one
Of
would know
course.
who anybody
Yeah.
was. And for some reason I automatically jumped to like the redcoats, like in their redcoats in war. But
Uh-huh.
um I understand, right, that people wear their colors as representation to be an extension of the fact of what they see, right, community. But what do you think a sporting event would be like if people just showed up in their regular clothes?
Honestly, like it would just be like, where are you going?
Would
Like,
you?
like
What
with any
about
even like concerts sometimes, because you I
yeah,
mean,
like Coachella just happened, and if like people weren't wearing all their Coachella attire, you'd never
and
know
they were just
Coachella.
right, exactly. Which I saw a bunch of stages like online from Coachella. It looked like a fun time actually. I would
That's
never go
cool.
because like that's a big festival and I just get
Yeah.
that's just too much going on.
Yeah,
But like the performers this year, I feel like we're putting on a show.
that's
Um,
cool.
but
You can watch it, I think, on YouTube, right?
that's where I was watching it. Yeah, exactly.
No, well,
So
maybe I'll go back and look. I'm not really
um,
interested,
but
but
like a sporting event has just so many different types of people.
right. So what would happen? Was it awkward because you sat next to the? Like, did you interact with the person who sat next to
No, and like I wasn't annoyed because like his family was next to him and they were all Nets fans. So it was like it was like a
you? Was
friendly
it
thing. It
just the
wasn't like
fact that you sat next to
I was
somebody
like,
who's
oh,
wearing a different color shirt than you were?
not even that. I didn't. He wasn't even wearing like a Boston. It was against
Oh,
Boston, which even makes
okay,
it worse, right? Boston
right,
against New York.
yeah.
Um, but then there were a bunch of Boston fans. So like it wasn't just it wasn't him really. Like the only thing that annoyed me was that he was like mansplaining to whoever he was with
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
basketball.
That's a
That's I
that
don't
would have pissed. You don't have to be at a sporting
I
event.
don't yeah. No, but like I don't when I'm at sporting events, like I really don't care if you're rooting for the other team or whatever. We're all just here for a good time. Like
Yeah,
if it's not like violent, like
it goes
there
back to. Oh God,
wait, but
tell me.
there was a fight literally outside the stadium.
uh,
It was two
always
guys
is.
like on the ground and everyone was like trying to like pull them apart and me and my sister were like, dude, it's not that serious. Like,
No, and it's not about the
really,
game, right? It's not
yeah,
even. It's like that's
these
fresh
men,
people,
and their violence.
specifically men, like
Yep.
use sporting events as a scapegoat to
To, I
release
don't
their
know,
anger.
release anger. Yeah.
So that's super
And and
interesting.
they were like probably like maybe our age, a little bit older, and like one of them was with his mom. Like it was so awkward. I was like, your mom is right there, bro, and we're just trying to like go back to the parking garage.
In that moment, like, unless you're paying me, like, it's crazy how we identify ourselves. It's just that sense of community, right? When it comes to
Oh yeah.
anything, it's insane. And for so many, especially young men in our country, sports make some type of connection to family and father, right? Like, in like that
Yeah.
whole thing. So it's so easy to have it and get mixed in with our identity, but it's so crazy to watch the extent of just radical action that happens as a result of that. That's insane.
It was wild. It really wasn't that serious. Like,
No,
okay,
it never is.
it never is.
There's very little that
Like,
ever can be enough to.
right, like the players aren't like fighting each other for
Yeah, like they don't give a
medals. Like
flying fart.
they're actually all like friends outside like the
Yeah.
court. So like, what does
Yep.
it matter?
It doesn't take a lot. It never takes a lot.
It really never does.
It's interesting. Was just listening to you would actually really probably have enjoyed this. I was just listening to I'm listening to a new well, it's not a new podcast. It's new to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm listening to the podcast Pivot. Are you familiar with Pivot at all?
No.
Dude, it is so much my personality with a lot of intelligence that I don't have around technology and business. So it's super fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
But they were talking about how terrible the internet is and apparently how terrible Facebook truly is. Like the core of Facebook and the way that they function is literally just malicious.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they were talking about it and they were saying how those so many degrees of separation that all it takes is someone to, like tap a button or do a post and then just watch the world burn. And it's so funny how the situation that you're talking about with sports can do the same thing, right? Millions of degrees of separation from the actual situation that happened on the court or to the players or to the score. But it was enough to just like these two individuals are going to fuck each other up because they can. And now you're just destroying, like, it's all it takes is like creating a space for someone to do something stupid and somebody else to get violent. And my thoughts around social media were just my thoughts around everything. My thoughts around everything going forward are going to be like, so is this to incite hate for
certain groups
a reaction of violence? Like, is that our goal?
Well, because that's why they're under fire with Congress, Facebook. That's why
that's
always on like a congressional meeting or something.
They were talking about, and it's something that I never really thought of before, how when it comes to these large systems of businesses, like these major, the top 5-6 businesses in the country, they make so many more decisions than we realize, and they have no overseeing body of regulation.
Yeah, there's that like one section of the law that like protects websites from whatever the users, that whole thing. Right,
but it's not, and it's literally being created by people who are fucking gonna benefit from it and make the most money. Like people who own Apple and Facebook are the ones who are writing those things. Like that makes no.
Those are the ones that are lobbying for
it. And our government is trying to fight now. Like the monster's gotten too big and has been let out of the cage, and now our government's trying. And it's not our government's fault that it happened, right? Like humans got access to the internet and just fucking ran with it before anybody was going to be able to do anything about it. So it's just, I don't know, it's a really frustrating and messy situation, and it's just sad because like the government can't, so many of the decisions that are made through our government are not actually made through our government. They're made by these businesses. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the way that our democracy functions, we have a say in what our government does. We have no say in what these businesses do. Like, they don't give a shit about us. They just want to make money off of us.
Yeah, so corporation law is just so intricate. Yeah,
and the way that the shit that they get. So I'm listening to this new podcast and it's baffling me, but I'm thinking about that because of what you just said, because they were referencing how, it's these companies are just doing whatever the hell they want to and allowing spaces for madness to happen and not creating any consequence or doing anything about it or doing it after the fact, and it's just messing up our society. And people run with these things because people are identifying with them or desperate or frustrated or angry and they need somewhere to take it out. And if you can't go to a basketball game and take it out on somebody who's rooting for the other team, you're going to do it online.
And like, y'all, it's not that serious. Like,
none of it is that serious.
Nothing is that serious that you need to like go instigate some discrimination against someone.
It's just absolutely, it's awesome. You want to know what? I think one of the beautiful things that being someone who's some type of way engaged in any level of competition, what's good about competition before we go down the shitty route of all the shit that it does to us, especially in the arena of having fans, right, is that you must come together, right? You all are coming together and you have to be civil. And there's a lot of regulations about what happens to you if you don't, right? Getting kicked out, all of that stuff, getting arrested. Yeah. Like you must come into one space and be civil together. And through that action, you learn how to be amongst people who are different than you and be in a common space and still have peace, right? Be the result. Yeah. But I'm sure that the fights that have been happening are probably more prevalent and happening now more than ever, because when people have been home the last 2 years sitting amongst peers that are fans of the same thing and not having to listen to anybody else's thoughts or opinions that were opposite of theirs, and this is relevant to everything, but because we were talking about sports, right, now they're having to go back and there's going to be so much more friction that's happening.
And again, it's really not that serious, y'all. Like,
it's not as serious. There's nothing that's serious. And like you said, it's like, it's not the players. Like the players are still demonstrating. Sometimes they do stupid shit. Sometimes they get angry. They're human. They're allowed to.
Human. Yeah.
But generally, the athletes are not the ones that are like miming and like examples of these actions. So it's all just. So go to more. We know what I would say to those people. Go to more events and be around more people who are not fans of the same thing that you are and just have to exist in it. Unless they start explaining some shit to you, because that would have pissed me off to no extent.
Yeah, like he was just mansplaining to, I don't know. I would assume maybe his wife or like girlfriend or something.
Oh, good Lord.
I don't
Bless
her
know. Soul.
Whatever. And I was like, damn, like, all right, dude. Like, let her watch. Like, if she has a question, she can probably, ask you, but like you don't need to like every other play.
Oh God.
Or like every other whistle. I was like, bro, like I can't. Or like every player's history of like what they did like throughout their career and what they got. I was like, dude, like, man.
No.
If a man ever did that to me, I'm like, yo, like shh. Like stop. I don't need this. But
it's exactly what you said, right? If you show interest or you ask a question or you want to be engaged in that conversation, then it's a different story. But like otherwise, just like it's just otherwise watch them run around. Like I don't need anything else. Like leave me alone.
Yeah, like I think the first time I went to a baseball game, like I'm like kind of versed in baseball, but like I don't know, whatever. But like I didn't need like someone, the people next to me to like, fucking explain every play. Like,
right. Yeah. Like, well, no,
I'm good. Like. Like sports wise, like I can if we're all watching there and we want to be
learn
there, like we understand what's gonna happen.
You have an understanding. You start to learn what's going on just from like everything else. It's so funny that and it is possible to do that and enjoy it without actually knowing what's going on. Case in point, my mother and father. My father is a huge baseball fan, right? Loves baseball. And my mother could literally care less. Like, I love her. Literally could care less. But we used to go to games a lot growing up as a whole family. Like my parents just went to a game with my nieces. Wow, I don't have any of those.
You don't have any nieces.
I said that, forecasting. With my nephews, and my mother, doesn't know it. And literally to this day probably knows absolutely none of the Yankees players anymore. But she still went and had fun. And I remember growing up, she made her own entertainment out of it. And this is such a funny story. She never had any idea what was going on in the game, but she always brought binoculars. And it was always I never knew that she never, I didn't know growing up. She didn't know what the game was.
Yeah.
And I didn't care enough myself. So I remember something had happened and my dad wanted the binoculars to see. And my mom was like, no, like, I'm not giving them to you now. It's not a good time. And I was like, why does that matter? And out, like, on the field, A-Rod was, A-Rod has like a bubble butt. Like, he's infamous for having a butt.
Is that what she's
And she was using the binoculars because he was out in the field stretching.
Oh.
And she was watching him stretch through the binoculars. Like, genius.
Yeah.
And because that was the entertainment for her. She's like, yeah, I'll watch a bunch of really attractive men stretch on the field and then run around and chase. Like, that sounds
That's
great.
half of sports if you're.
Yeah, that is literally. So, and I mean, any man would be lying about the fact of like that they don't appreciate watching women do the same thing in the contact. You know what I mean? So you don't have to be a man or a woman necessarily, right? You find whoever is attractive, you're not going to take that away from the fact that you're getting to watch it.
Literally.
I had so much respect for my mother, like growing up as a teenager after realizing all of that was going on. Yeah. But and bless my father, because he never tried to get her to be more engaged or
whatever makes you happy, right?
He was like, you sit there, you have fun with your binoculars, I'm gonna sit here and watch the game.
Yeah, and call it a day, as opposed to mansplaining the whole fucking night. I'm like, damn, like just
no,
like,
it's just because he and that aspect.
I also get like, okay, you're super excited, like someone's with you with this, but like also like you like there are other ways.
So like cheer and yell.
Yeah, just
be engaged that way.
Yeah. So no to mansplaining, obviously.
It's like, okay.
But last night was cool because there was a bunch of celebrities because it was a playoff game. So like Mary J. Blige was there. I was like, oh cool, I'm in the same building as Mary J. Blige. Like the guy from Hamilton, not Lin-Manuel, but like one of the other guys, and I think he's in the Heights. And like Victor Cruz was there. Aaron Judge was there actually.
Yeah.
So like that's also cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. So I'm tired basically because I got home at like midnight, but and then somehow got up early to go take a walk.
Hey, you got some sunshine. That's good.
Exactly. I needed. It's like nice out now, so I was like, let me just.
I know it's getting there. We are, which I mean, my allergies are preparing me.
Yeah. So
it's cool. Yeah. It's normal. It's one of those things that I'm really hoping that like our future generations don't have to deal with. I hope that we evolve out of it,
or something happens where it's like, I don't know.
And I don't know what I'm thinking too. I wonder if. So, we're gonna have a pivotal nerd moment just for a second. Like the reason why we deal with allergies is because these allergens, this like specific example, like flora and pollen gets into our system and our body like super attacks it like it's as if it's COVID, right? To like level threat.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there is a way to like the issue is because our body is responding to all of the things as with this like the same threat level. So I'm wondering if there's a way to play into that some way, shape, or form. Or like I wonder if we had like more hair follicles inside of our like our noses, like something else. Like we're getting to our existence as humans, the comfort in our existence and the nicety in our existence as humans so strongly opposes what our bodies are supposed to be experiencing. So like as we start to develop and we're less hairy, or we talk about how you need less hair on your body or like in your nose or whatever, like we're taking away defenses that
natural defenses
needs, right? Like not being hairy isn't a good thing because that hair stops so much of that stuff from getting onto our skin and getting into our body, or getting like men not having facial hair, like it stops them from getting all of like that shit on their bodies.
I feel like our generation has a shit ton more allergies than like prior, but that could just be my scope of
I think
purview.
Think of the way our generations have grown up versus a lot of other generations before us.
Yeah.
Our generations were the generations that didn't go outside as much because of video games, right? And now we spend a lot more time indoors than we used to.
Oh, I see.
Right? Like we're not accustomed. I mean, also, I think 100% that nature is trying to fight back. I think nature is very attuned to what's going on with climate change. And out of desperation, there's a lot more pollen that's being produced because like the trees and the plants are smarter than us and realize that something's going on and are trying to like push forward their
Yeah.
perpetuate existence. But so I think we're combating that. But I mean, we don't spend a lot. And honestly, friends who don't know this, all of the shit that's inside of our houses, like the pollen and air, the quality of our air in our houses is worse than outside. So our immune systems are constantly fighting the shit that's inside from being locked in. And then we're taking a compromised immune system and putting it outside with all of this extra stuff.
Yeah,
So,
it's the air quality inside. Like that's I like actually opened my screen door because now it's getting nice. Like I try to open it like every day because like I wake up every day. And again, I need to like be I don't know diligent about using my humidifier because I wake up every day with like a dry cough because like
yeah,
the air is
it's
just so
crazy.
dry. It's so stale at overnight that it's just like causing my like throat to like itch because
Yeah.
and like again, this is me just like assuming it's just my dry air. I could just have allergies to like dust
Adding
or
on.
something,
Yeah. I
anything
mean,
here
most, like, we all do. It's just the extent
of like
to
how
what you do.
much
Because
exactly
think of how much stuff
is
this,
in the vents like of
right,
your
not
place.
even in the vents, but like every time you touch a surface in your house, you're making particles release from that surface. And think
Mm-hmm.
of all of this shit that the particles in your house hold on to.
Mm-hmm.
If this is
Yeah.
making you want to crawl in your skin or get up and really
Go
go
get a deep clean of your
spring
place.
deep, yeah, spring deep spring cleaning, make sure you do it with your windows open. And it's not
Oh yeah,
like
ventilation is key.
people out. I was just having a conversation. It's so odd how I was having a conversation with a client of mine about how she is dealing with allergies and has so much mucus because of the allergy she's dealing with, to the point of where it like makes her nervous that she sees like all of this stuff coming out of her body. Our desire or our like grossness, disgust of ourselves, and like the feeling of being grossed out about like the fact that like tiny little bugs live on your skin, or like the fact,
Yeah.
there's dirt particles flying through your hair and like dead skin cells flying through your air all the time. Like, we're disgusting. Like, we are physically are, in order for our bodies and our world, like, in the most beautiful way, things are gross and they're supposed to be gross. I
Mm-hmm.
don't mean like the only thing that I can think of right now is like sticky children hands, because that's like my
Oh,
worst.
that's so gross. Yeah.
But I mean, like, we're supposed to be gross, and by preventing, by stopping or trying to limit that, or putting a bunch of I can't think of antibacterial things into the mix, we are limiting our body's own ability to be able to handle the gross. Like, we are gross too. Like, we can manage the gross, which is why COVID was such a shit show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And wearing masks, as beneficial as it is, like prolonged use of that and literally not interacting with any germs at all has created a lot of, especially even more issue now when we're dealing with allergens because our immune systems are fucking compromised.
Mm-hmm.
So embrace how disgusting we are. It's taken me a really long time, and I still have
Yeah.
ideas where I'm like, no, but we are gross. And if you can't handle that or understand that, you poop every day. Hopefully, you poop every day. Like,
Yeah. Hopefully your bowel movements are
there is,
constant and normal.
you can't glorify or beautify that in any way. And it is like its own way beautiful and glorious, because God knows what would happen to us if we didn't do it. But you are disgusting and it is beautiful. And we just have to be okay with that.
Mm-hmm. I don't know why we got on this topic.
I don't know. That's such a weird
Allergies.
twist. Allergies.
Get your house deep cleaned if you're having trouble. I guess breathing.
Yeah. And please try to limit your use of like antibacterial things. Because overexposure to those, I know we think that it's going to help make your surface clean or your house clean or like you clean, but you're meant to have that little bit of dirt. And like dust, go for dust. Clean dust as much as you can. Get it out of your like stale in your air, because that's what's causing so much irritant for us, especially like pet dander and like dead skin, all that stuff. But like dirt and bacteria just exist. Like, there's more of that times
Everywhere.
billions than there are, and some of it's bad, and that's great that you want to kill it, but like your body is literally designed to do that, and if you put antibacterials into the mix, you're taking away your body's ability to do that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that was my TED talk.
Yeah, welcome to
Welcome to
Brittany's
my TED
TED
Talk.
Talk. That
Thank you for
really
coming
wasn't
to
what
my
we were
talk.
supposed to talk about today.
No, it wasn't at all. It's funny. I wanted to bring up, there are a couple, I texted you what I texted you, and then I had a million other things happen after that. It's funny how
Also, the auto text, whatever, I was like, man, there's some of these words, I'm like, I don't even know what she's saying.
I did not read it before I sent it to you, and I just
It's
looked at it 5 minutes before getting on the this call with you, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell any of
That's
this.
why I read it once over. I was like, she'll explain it.
Maybe if I can figure out what it says. But it's funny how life is very hit or miss. It's like all of this stuff is going on, and I want to, unpack all of it, and then there's like crickets. It's interesting that you brought up the fight, right, that you saw two men having.
Ridiculous.
So this in Pivot, one of the women who is a co-host she apparently has a lot of children. I'm not that deep into it to really know her well enough, but not that I ever will know her because she hosts a podcast, just to put that as a caveat. She apparently has two like young adult, large male sons, and she was taking a walk with them, and she was telling the story of how it was nighttime, and when she's walking, she's very much like looking around and paying attention to her surroundings, and her sons are like la da da, like super casual, nonchalantly just walking, and they heard like a sound nearby, and they didn't even bother like her sons, but like she stopped and got very like defensive, and they were like, what are you doing, like what's wrong? And she was like, you'll never understand this.
Oh, well.
And they were kind of like, what do you mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you being weird, Mom? And just kept walking. And she was like, my sons will never understand what it's like to be a female and always have to feel slightly, like, am I safe? Right? Because that's...
Yeah. That's just how it is. Yeah.
Right. And there's a bunch of other stuff around gender and stuff that we can tap into. But for the sake of this conversation, she was talking about that. And it's interesting because I hate this, but I'm going to talk about it because it's the truth. So yesterday I went by myself to get myself dinner, and I went Maria knows, I love food. I like these like hole in the wall places.
Oh,
and
yeah, they're
I
the
went
best.
to get like this really, really, really good gyro. And when I walked in, the restaurant is just like full of men. And I'm female. And I could just like, from the second that I walked in, just all of my like spidey sense, my female senses, I guess, just started going off.
You have to be a bit more aware.
So uncomfortable for that.
There's not one other female in that restaurant?
No. For the 15 minutes that I was in there, felt so uncomfortable to the point of where I was like, it felt claustrophobic in a way. To the point of where like I walked out and I literally like my eyeballs were like, find a woman. Okay. Like to feel some sense of safe.
Is this a safe space for
right?
women?
It was just so what I wanted to talk about, and it's funny because it wasn't even relevant to this, but this is exactly why I want to do this, is I really want to take a self-defense course. Have you ever taken any type of self-defense courses?
No, and I saw your poll on your
Instagram. And nobody wanted a bunch of people were like, why do you want to do this?
I think it's a good skill to have, obviously. Just in case something happens. I think people are just afraid of taking a course.
Oh, why?
I just feel like, I don't know. That's just an inkling that I have, that like everyone knows that yes, it will probably be helpful in dire situations, but also I think people are afraid because like if they actually use it, then they're in a dire situation. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it's like having a lot of people don't make the like, what are those called? Those apocalypse bags, because they're like, now I have an apocalypse bag, and if it
happens, then like that's fucked. Or like same thing, like I know something is wrong with my body, but I don't want to go to the doctor because then they'll confirm or deny my anxiety. Like, like it's
so living in denial is what you're
correct. Everyone's just living in denial.
I can see that. I mean, that's super frustrating, and I guess that's not the way that I look at it, like personally, because I'm like the kind of, I don't have a apocalypse bag, because in that moment, like I literally don't care what happens, right?
Yeah.
and I don't care what I take with me. Like I'm reaching for one of my cats and I'm out.
That's it. Yeah, you're out.
But I was thinking about, and I've had this for a while, and I would love to know your thoughts on this as a female. I generally don't feel safe as a female. Like that's just like one of the places where I have an issue with safety and trust as like physical spaces, and like my identity as a female definitely roots into that. But I am also a petite female. I am also often disregarded as being somebody who's seen as strong, physically stronger, capable because of my size, and have been for many, many points of my life previously. And I had a lot of male people in my life, in a lot of just even like into the dance world, who would tell me that I wasn't capable because I was tiny, or like I wasn't capable because I wasn't strong enough because I was tiny, or I couldn't, or my being a petite woman inherently made me unsafe. And it's funny because my husband is one of the only, like my husband, friends who have never seen my husband is a 6'1" brick wall.
Yeah, Dan's built different.
He's
just built.
He is, yes, unlike me. Like I was made out of like a bunch of twigs and hot glue, and my husband's bones were made out of like, I don't know, steel. And he is one of the few people who's never done that to me, who's never made me feel like I wasn't physically capable. And honestly, like sometimes he really like pushes me to be like, he'll ask me to lift something with him, and I'm like, are you fucking serious right now? And I am capable of doing it, but I'm usually surprised. And he actually, might sound weird to people, but like my husband and I like spar. Like we physically and it's not like literally to fight. Like we'll start out at like having a joking conversation, and then it'll turn, because I'm a physical person, so it turns into us like play fighting.
Yeah, like children.
Right. And he sometimes will really like, I'm tiny and I can maneuver my way around and stuff. But he's never put any type of limit or restriction on me being physically capable or being unsafe. Right. So my issue is, in my thought process, is like, if I can learn how to defend myself, like I won't have that concern for safety. Right. Because if something does happen, I can handle it. Like I'll be prepared.
Yeah. This is a logical way of thinking.
No, thanks. That's good. It's good to know that there's still some sense in there.
I know it is very logical. It's just, the emotions get in the way and people just don't want to do it. Also, there's like the fear of like going to like these classes and not knowing what you're doing and then feeling like an idiot.
Well, that's the point. You show up there because you don't know what you're doing.
Oh, but people and their anxiety.
I know. I don't think you're wrong, and I get it, but that's a difference of like the way that I think as a learner. I love friggin' learning, and I want to know things, and I don't think about it in the perspective of how not knowing things for people is a scary place to step into, especially if it comes into like not knowing things about how to take care of yourself. Some people just don't want to face that as a reality.
Right, and that's just what that is.
Guys, like we don't know, and it's funny because I use the Fit On app. Are you familiar with the Fit On app?
I feel like I know.
It's like a free fitness training app.
Yeah.
And they started putting self-defense classes on it. So I know how to do like a wrist release now. And
that's great.
I made Dan do it with me. It was super.
It works?
Yeah, it works really great. And it's all very scientific about like the fact that like if you move this way, the joint of the other person holding you can't go that way too. So they have to release. It's very smart. But it's really frustrating trying to learn it by yourself. Like you need somebody else trying to do something.
Right.
So I was like, all right, this is helpful and gives me an idea and puts me in the right headspace, but I literally need to go and actually do it. So there's a boxing place nearby us that was like, oh, if you can find us like a handful of women to do it with you, we'll do it. So now so if you're somebody who lives in Central New Jersey, and you are interested in taking like a self-defense class, like, let's go. I want to go. I want to do it so badly. And I think it comes down to the same. I really do wish that I took karate as a kid. I remember watching my brother take karate. Did you ever do anything like martial arts related?
No, no. I don't think I've ever had an interest in it.
I didn't
So
either when we were kids, but now
hindsight is 2020 though.
I mean, always. I remember being on the sidelines, like trying to follow my brother with what he was doing. I didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah, you didn't know the specific like.
When I have children, I mean, maybe not to the extent of, like I would never push them to pursue it, but I feel like we should be teaching, especially through the lens of martial arts, because it's a defense, right? It's not used on the offense. It's like a very disciplined thing. I feel like people should know how to freaking defend themselves.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. The world is dangerous. I mean, even me walking today, like there was like a sudden noise that I heard behind me. I had to make it seem like I wasn't afraid, but then my like next step was kind of hesitant, but then I just kind of kept going because I was like, all right, I'm in my neighborhood, it's light out, like there are people around me, so it must have been just someone like banging on their door or something. But even
Yeah.
so, like being a woman, you're just on defense all,
Yeah, and
all
it's
the
not,
time.
it's just, it's just not fun. It really is just
No,
not fun. And I think that's part of, I tell myself, like, and that's like not necessarily the case, right? But it's just to help with my ego, right? If I know how to defend myself, I'll be better prepared to handle the situation. But so much of the time, it doesn't matter what you know or don't know, because when your body goes into a state of shock, you don't have like
you're gonna hesitate
right.
regardless.
You're gonna, unless you do it, unless it happens to you in real time multiple times, that your body does, like, you can override that shock response, which is sad. Like, that was not the reality that I want to live in, but that's the truth of the matter. And that's for any situation your body goes through. If it's out of the norm of an experience for you, your body goes through an entire moment of shock and figuring out how to respond appropriately until that becomes a normal reaction. Like it's a normal process that your body can
It's a muscle memory.
go through. Which is why, people who are fighters, their reaction times are so much less. Like a normal person going off the street to get fucking get their ass kicked because they're not used to that. So yeah, I was just curious about your perspective, and you are 100% right. Like, it is very likely that I need to find people who have the same mindset that I do about it, who are going to see it as an opportunity to be able to,
or find one that's just like a self-defense class that's already established, and just because then
those are hard, which is sad, but they're harder to find.
That's interesting.
Or they're like at the YMCA, and it's like, if I'm gonna do it, I want like a trained boxer like a fighter to teach me how to do it.
That makes sense.
Like I want to learn from, because otherwise it's like
like a volunteered person at the Y.
Yeah, like I don't. Thank you. Like, that's so sweet. You're doing your job and you're trying to help the people, but no, thank you. I want to learn how to do it.
You'll find people, I feel.
I will. I'll get there.
You'll find people slowly,
by some way, shape, or form. And it's very interesting that I started to talk about it like to Dan. I started like having conversations about wanting to do it, and then all of a sudden, like, we had a conversation with somebody who manages a boxing facility, who like brought it up, and then all of a sudden these courses started showing up on the app, and I was like, wow,
the universe,
it's gonna happen. Yeah, so I just have to keep talking about it, and it'll happen.
That's cool. You'll find it. Yeah. You'll find people. And like me, like I was always into sports, and now I'm just like itching to like join like a volleyball league somewhere. I can't find it.
Would love that.
Would love that too.
Really, and it's very...
We should join together. I'll join that with you if you find a volleyball league. See?
I'm imagining me in volleyball. I totally would, though. I would. We can do volleyball. I'm fine with volleyball.
I need some like physical, like, because exercise, like hit workouts and like those types of exercise and like strength training, like, yes, they're obviously very important, but they're so boring to me that I'm like, give me a sport.
But they're not.
Give me a sport that I can just like run around.
I was
sweating.
literally just having this conversation with people who are in like the fitness industry. The way that we glorify how we're supposed to be active
It's
is
like
not
wild.
how we're supposed to be active.
Right. Like
Like the
people
things
that have
we prioritize are not things that we're supposed to prioritize.
right, people that are like that have like medical conditions that can't have the same results as someone that like doesn't have the same medical conditions. Like doing a hit workout for one person isn't gonna result in the same result for another person, you know,
Oh
like
yeah,
because of their whole like
totally. But it's
body and like whatever.
every single, and that's the thing too, right? Trying to generalize wellness and health through
Yeah.
any lens, including fitness, is just a way to create a toxic environment because every single body responds differently to every single activity.
Mhm.
But one of the common threads for all of us is that A, our bodies all love physical movement, right? Like we need to do it more. And B, physical movement is intended and created to be a part of our lifestyle and our society, like connections, our societal connections in our community.
Mhm.
So because if you think about the way humans interact, it used to be on hunts. It used to be while doing things, those building bonds by like I don't know why words keep like falling out of my brain today. It's crazy. But common action together is how people build bonds, which is why sports are wonderful because you get the benefit out of it. Going to the gym and picking up heavy weights and just flexing your muscles and having to go through isolated activities isn't necessary if we live a lifestyle that has that prior stuff.
Right. Because going back to mansplaining, the worst place is a gym environment and men are explaining different exercises to you.
Yeah, it's just not. And for some people that works, and some people are able to build a community out of that.
Look,
And that's awesome.
look, I tried the gym for a while. It did get results when I was consistent enough, but also it was just like not the place for me. You know, like you do it and like yes, there are results, but also like you don't mentally feel like
Yeah.
going. And
This
like
is
that's
actually,
like the big part.
I didn't think we were going to talk about this, but this actually so perfectly ties into the thing that I texted you second.
Oh,
So,
okay. We'll briefly talk about it.
actually, you know what? We're gonna end this episode and we'll tie it next week. If you want to know the most successful way to build a habit of going to the gym, listen to our next episode.
Oh,
I will tell you what he talks
cliffhanger.
about. If you haven't read Atomic Habits or you're not familiar with James Clear, remember how we were talking about how I had a morning routine and how I
Yeah.
used to do it and then I'd like go on with my day, and
Yeah.
you were the one who called me out and were like, well, are you happy because you're doing the activity, or are you happy because you're checking something off your list?
Exactly.
And I was like, fuck. So I stopped doing all of that. But I've been completely wrong in the way that I've been approaching how to build habits for myself, and the gym fits perfectly into this. Like exercise and wellness fits perfectly into this. So we'll talk about it on our next episode.
Great. I get my answer next episode. That's fine.
Yeah. I'll tell Maria after we're done recording.
Yeah.
Next episode.
To prep me for next episode.
Well, thank you guys for hanging out with us. It's so nice to be back with you. We hope that you are listening to us while you're enjoying a nice ride in the car with your windows down. That's how Maria and I roll. So if you're like us, we love you. Or if you're taking a walk, or hopefully if you're a female and you're walking by yourself, listening to us helps you feel a little safer. I have nothing to say at the end of this to tie into what the hell we talked about.
While you were saying like when you're like going to walk and listen to us, the very quickly, the other anxiety-inducing thing that I was doing while going on a walk was listening to a true crime podcast. So,
there you go. Great.
So like, don't do that.
Put yourself in the right headspace, friends.
Do listen to this instead, or any other podcast that like it sounds like
this is not going to set off all of the triggers in your body's response system. Well,
that's all.
Don't be afraid of living your best life because you deserve to be more.
Okay, bye.